Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Playoff Beards here on the Let's Get Ready Network, the Highlights channel. I'm Adelia, that's my buddy Snark, and we are here to talk about the conference finals in the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Very different series in many ways, but also kind of dominated by one team in each series. Snark, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. Not the finals I predicted. I don't think it's the finals that anyone predicted, but should be an interesting finals at least. Hopefully more competitive. Hopefully more competitive than the conference finals, anyways.
I agree. Let's talk the Eastern Conference Finals first.
Sure.
Because there's kind of less to talk about with the Eastern Conference Finals. Florida swept Carolina. I didn't see that coming.
No, I don't think many people did. Especially Carolina's had been playing so well. Florida's on that. Can you even call it a Cinderella run? Like they won the President's Trophy last year. Of course, they barely squeak in. They needed Pittsburgh to lose on the final day to Chicago, of all teams, the worst team in the league, or one of. And they squeak in there, take care of Boston, points record holders for the President Cup winners this year. Take care of them. Take care of the Leafs because
Yep.
because you go up against the Leafs, you got about a 98% chance of winning that series. So good for them. They did what they had to do there. But going in against the Canes, and the Canes have been playing so well. Goaltending had been good. They were getting goals, but it all seemed to dry up in this series for them.
It really did. Let's talk about that first game of the series.
Oh, yeah.
Florida 3, Carolina 2 in 4 overtimes, and it was almost 5. That was probably the most insane game I've watched in the playoffs so far.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because of the sheer amount of everybody around me going, is that game still going on? And it's like, yeah, the game's still going on.
Yeah, you pay a little more for your ticket in the playoffs, and at least they may not have gone home happy, but the good people in Carolina can't say they didn't get their money's worth, more than 2 full games worth there. I remember when I was a kid, I lived in a small town in Saskatchewan, and my dad lived in Toronto, and we were going to visit. We drove from where I lived to Regina, which is about an hour and a half. I saw the beginning of the first period of an Islanders Washington game. Drove from there to Regina, got on a plane, flew to Toronto, went from Toronto up to Collingwood, where our cottage was, or whatever, our cabin, or condo or whatever, and still caught the end of the game. So
that's crazy.
It's one of the best things about playoff hockey. You play until somebody wins. Yes. So 7 overtimes, exhausted. Out, you can see the exhaustion on their faces. Matthew Tkachuk scores because this guy just wins games for them, and wins series winners, wins game winners. As soon as he scores right off the ice, he's telling people, "Okay, that's it. Let's get out of here." So that's one of the enduring things I'll think of when this Stanley Cup's over. Just Tkachuk waving to the guys, "Come on, we're out of here."
Yeah, like that was the most amusing moment I've seen to end a game so far this playoffs.
Yeah.
6th longest game in NHL history.
It's incredible.
It's pretty incredible. The studio host for TNT, because this game was on TNT, tweeted out at some point in time, I think between the 3rd and the 4th overtime, for those of you that fell asleep on your couch, yes, you're not dreaming. We are still live, or something like that, and it was very amusing.
Yeah.
The second game in the series also went to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the games in the series were 1-goal games. So this is my question to you.
Yeah.
It feels like Florida dominated this series, but it also kind of feels like it's one of the closest sweeps I've ever seen. What do you think?
Very close. I'm thinking back to other sweeps or whatever. I know that when the Jets swept Edmonton, people thought that was very close as well. And that last game again, another double or triple overtime game that the Jets took it out in. But so that was close. But this was very close, and you just have to think, what if the Hurricanes had Svechnikov?
Yeah.
They just missed that goal scoring punch. They played well. They played well defensively. Played well. You can even see Freddie Anderson played well in net. It's just they just
Mhm.
couldn't get that one other goal in there. And then Max Pacioretty too, but Max Pacioretty is a shell of what he was, especially when he was with the Canadians and stuff like that. He's always hurt. And it's always a back problem. So if we ever see Max Pacioretty again in the league, I'll be surprised. I think he's in line for one of those long-term injury reserves or whatever, and there'll be money on somebody's books. They'll trade him to Coyotes or something like that, so they can at
Mhm.
least make the floor. But yeah, it's a real shame. And so Don Waddell has already said we're gonna be looking at the trade market. He's got to do something. They just need depth scoring. Otherwise, super competitive. And I feel so bad for Stazzy. I really hoped it would be the year that he could push through. But let's go back to that. Let's go back to Game 4 real quick.
Okay.
And Carolina comes back and ties it and seemed to have the momentum. And with just over a minute left, Wes McCauley calls one of the softest penalties I've ever seen in a deciding game at that specific time. With
Yeah.
just over a minute left, that is the softest tripping call I've ever seen. And you put Stahl in the box, Stahl being one of their best penalty killers too. As soon as it happens, they're, they're going to score. Like this is just how things work. It was such a bad penalty that that the team that got it is going to get punished somehow. It's a backbreaker, and I felt bad for them. I thought
Yeah.
maybe they could get a little momentum. I by no means that I think they were going to come back from 3-0. By no means at all. But yeah, you still, it's like they had fought back. It looked like they had the momentum, and then that ridiculous tripping call is what cost them. Sort of like when the Islanders put the puck over the glass or whatever when Carolina took them out. But at least that's a penalty that's going to be. They have no choice but to call that penalty. This one is a choice. Wes McCauley made a brutal call, and I don't know if he's been selected to work any games in the finals, but I would find it hard to imagine that he did.
Yeah, that was I remember when they made that call, being like, "Why are you calling that?
Yeah, terrible.
Like, this is not the place, the time to call that." Like, and when Florida scored, I was just like, "Oh man!" Like,
Yeah.
I figured Florida was going to win the series, but at that point, but
Oh yeah.
that's a brutal way. Excuse me, that's a brutal way to lose it.
Yeah, terrible. But good, good for Florida though. Like, congrats to our former coach.
Yeah.
Dropping our team just to go over to Florida and take them to a Stanley Cup final. So yeah, good for you, Paul. Good for you. Uh,
What did you think of Rod Brindamore after the game 4 saying, "We didn't lose 4 games. We got beat, but we were right there."
yeah, that sounds like a competitor, right? Like he's still that same
Yeah.
player he was. He is fiery and stuff like that. But uh, yeah, yeah, you did lose 4 straight games. Look,
Yeah.
come on, it
You
is
did.
what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, you can try and dress it up as nicely as and what, but you guys weren't good enough. But
Twitter's had some fun with him and that quote for the last week.
yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine with that. He won't matter. He won't. He won't.
Yeah.
He won't mind. But yeah, Matthew Kachuk with the series winner again. Uh,
Matthew Kachuk scored 3 of the game-winning goals in that series.
yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
And Bobrovsky's so good. Now you're looking like if Florida does the unthinkable and wins the Stanley Cup this year, only become like I think that's the second 8th seed ever to win a Stanley Cup. I think the only 8th seed so far has been the LA Kings that have won a Stanley Cup. But if they do, who's your pick for their Conn Smythe Trophy winner? Would you go Kachuk? Would you go Bobrovsky, who's also been excellent?
Ryan asked me this in the Discord,
Yeah,
uh, and I said it depends on how the Stanley Cup Finals goes. Right now, I would probably lean Bobrovsky, but if Matthew Kachuk comes out there, does what he did Western Conference Finals again, scoring game-winning goal after game-winning goal, especially like a series clinching goal, then I think I'd probably give it to Tkachuk, just because he's been incredible in these playoffs, Matthew Tkachuk, and I think it's proven that Florida had a good idea in getting him from Calgary last year. They definitely won that trade, I
Oh yeah.
think. And
Maybe
I
more
think,
on that
yeah,
later.
yeah, more on that later.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now I'd give it to Bobrovsky, but I could see them giving it to Tkachuk simply because it's either the hot goaltender that they give it to or an offensive player. It's very rare that I feel like it's anybody else. So they're definitely the two leading candidates for Florida for the Conn Smythe, though.
I'm trying to think of defensemen that, just off the top of my head, defensemen that have won the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Well, one did last year.
Yeah,
Cale Makar won.
Yeah,
I can't think of others.
It's yeah. I can think of a few goaltenders. I can think of even when Ron Hextall won it on the losing side when the Flyers lost to Edmonton, and what was that, 85 or something like that, 85 or 87, one of those two. So yeah, and Mike Richter, yeah, it happens more often, I think, with goaltenders winning than a defenseman, and I don't think there's any defenseman on Florida that would be up for it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think Tkachuk's been great. With Bobrovsky, of course, didn't start the playoffs for Florida, but as soon as he did come in that series against Boston, you could see the progression of the team and stuff like that. Just the confidence they have with him in net. So yeah, good for him. Good for Paul Maurice. Good for Jamie Compton. That's also very good. Jamie Compton is Paul Maurice's assistant coach, and he was also the coach here at the Jets. He spent most of the time with the Jets last year away with his wife. His wife was going through chemotherapy and stuff for breast cancer. So he would do all his coaching via Skype or whatever. That's why our power play, not the best last year. It's hard to coach via Skype, but at least he kept his job, and and he got to spend more time with his wife. So it's good to see him back behind the bench full time. Do I want the Panthers to win? Well, we can talk about it after we talk about the Western Conference Finals, I guess.
Yeah, but before we talk about the Western Conference Finals, let's hear from Justin on how you can help support the channel.
Hey guys, it's Justin, aka Hambone, just here to let you know a couple of things that we have going on with the channel. One, we have a Patreon. If you can and want to support us, you can do that. As little as $1. You can join the Discord. We also have a merch store where you can get some cool shirts, mugs, and stuff with all of our different shows and labels on there. And thank you for all of our supporters that have already been there with us.
All right, let's talk about the Western Conference Finals. The beginning of this series, we were in an interesting position in American sports, North American sports, where we had the sweep going on with the Panthers and the Hurricanes, the sweep going on in the NBA with the LA Lakers being swept by the Denver Nuggets.
Right.
Then we had Vegas up 3-0 on Dallas, and we had Miami up 3-0 on Boston in the NBA. It looked there for a while like all four conference finals in two sports going on right now could be sweeps. That didn't happen. Boston took Miami to a Game 7, and Dallas last night was trying to get to a Game 7. Didn't happen in pretty spectacular fashion. Vegas wins 4-2 in the series. They won 6-0 in Game 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your thoughts?
Okay. Well, and I think I said somewhere, I don't know if it was on our Discord or where I was talking about it, but those first four games of the conference finals were for the better playoff games you'll ever watch. Tremendously entertaining. Then the third game comes around, and Vegas goes up 1-0 real fast. And then for some reason, everybody is introduced to what an asshole Jamie Benn is.
Yeah.
Who then cross-checks Mark Stone in the neck while he's prone on the ice. And you could see it in his face, like it was full intent. The NHL and the wisdom gave him 2 games. The Golden Knights go on to win 4-0 in that third game. And then with Ben sitting out the 2 games, the Stars actually showed up.
Yep.
Winning game 4. I think that was the overtime game. Was that
Yes.
Pavelski, I believe, that scored that one. They win the next one 4-2. It was tied in the third period, and they got a couple goals in the third. So you're thinking, okay, are they going to be able to do 2? Can they come back? It just, you could see the tide turn. Jamie Benn reinserted into the lineup, 6-0. They're gone.
Yeah, the Stars were 0-4 with Jamie Benn in the lineup, and 2-0 without him. That doesn't say something about your captain. I don't know what does.
Well, there's been a few things said. Like, he was a good player. He was very good. But
he was a scoring champ a few years ago, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's been declining to the point where he's been a third line guy the last 2 or 3 years. And Tyler Seguin, the same thing. He used to be a goal machine, and just a slide where he's a third line guy now. So 100% they'll be looking to get rid of Jamie Benn. Who wants an aging, expensive Jamie Benn right now? I can't. Yeah, I have no idea. He'll go someplace like. Again, he'll go to Phoenix. He can play in front of 4,500 people. He can assault people all he wants there. No one's going to give a shit. No one's watching. Well, and the good news is he may end up in Houston or something afterwards. He might not live too far from his actual home in Dallas. So there you go. Garbage move. Not the worst thing I've ever seen in the playoffs. Obviously, that's Dale Hunter. Getting what's his name? Pierre Turgeon. After Pierre Turgeon scores a goal in an Islanders Capital series, has his hands up going towards the thing. He takes 10 strides at him and absolutely loves him. I think he was suspended for 48 games or something like that for it. Deservedly so. So yes, but yeah, in action, just on the ice, and like you can see, like the first time he tries to do it too, Mark Stone has his arm up. And so it kind of pushes back. So you just see him do it again and go after it, just so he makes sure he does it. Like, when does your brain kick in?
And then he didn't face the media the night of that game.
Coward. He's a captain.
He goes before the media the next day and says he was falling and just braced himself, and it got like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah. And again, this is still a problem with the NHL player safety. Who are you?
God.
Who are you protecting? And your union. Your union, too. Who are you protecting? This is crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, that's the NHL for you. Some people still have that caveman thing in their head from like they think the 70s were super brutal and stuff like that. The 70s and stuff, you had way more respect for each other because there was hardly any pads. You know what I mean? You saw a lot less slashing. You never saw headshots or anything like that. You don't hear much about concussions. But then again, everybody also smoked 2 packs a day and drank a dozen beer in between periods. So it was a different game. Guys, it was a different game.
A very different game.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the finals that everyone predicted. The Vegas Golden Knights in their second finals appearance against the Florida Panthers in their second finals appearance. Neither of them won their first finals appearance. Vegas lost to Washington in 2018 in 5 games. In Florida's finals appearance was in 1996 when they were swept by the Colorado Avalanche. That's the season I became a fan. I will remember that series forever.
Mm-hmm.
So we will have a brand new Stanley Cup champion. Snark, who's it going to be?
I would think, like, obviously, I think I've gotten a couple predictions, right? I never gotten too many. Of course, I predicted Vegas to beat the hell out of Dallas, and they kind of did. But I'm pretty sure I predicted Carolina to win. So I would say Vegas. I'm thinking Vegas will win the Stanley Cup. But you have to you rank pros and cons, and you go goaltending. You have to go with Bobrovsky, even though Aiden Hill
Vegas
is
very on good. Their third string goalkeeper. So.
And before that, they had their 4th string, and they had Brossoit, and Brossoit did well, especially against the Jets. Maybe bump them up. I don't know. Jonathan Quick is actually a second He's actually like their backup goaltender. He could be in the fifth spot or something like that by now. I think it was a nice legacy signing for them or whatever. Maybe try to sell a couple jerseys to people, expats of Los Angeles that live in Vegas or something like that. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea why they got him. But anyways, well, they had a bunch of injuries, I guess. But why Jonathan Quick? Especially he got traded to Columbus first. It's like, oh, we'll take him off. You never even put the sweater on. So his last game here in Winnipeg as a King. So I don't understand that. But so you'd have to give the edge to Florida for goaltending. For defense, I'd give it to Vegas. I think they're big, they're mobile, and they can score. Like Shea Theodore has been terrific in the playoffs so far. And then you go forwards. Mark Stone and Matthew Tkachuk really kind of even each other out. They both play the same way. They both are smart hockey players who are big, physical, can get under your skin for sure. They can draw up penalties, but they can also score big goals. I think those two kind of equal each other out, so you have to start coming down. Jack Eichel, it's a pretty good second guy to have on your team behind your captain, Mark Stone. So even though Florida has terrific players as well, but just the deep scoring that Vegas is getting to, like Kolasar scoring the other night and stuff like. And he's big and he's strong too, Kolasar, and from Manitoba, I might add. I like the depth on Vegas more than I like the depth in Florida. Coaching wise, like I said at the very first episode of as our Stanley Cup predictions for the first round, Paul Maurice is a really good playoff coach. He's gotten to the finals before. He lost with Carolina. I can't remember who they lost against. But he'll have that team ready. Are the Vegas guys ready for the big time? I think a lot of people still have maybe a bit of sour taste in their mouth. They had that awesome inaugural season and was Vegas strong, and they had all the stuff weighing on them. And by the end, and they had to play that series against the Jets. It was only 5 games, but it was a heavy series. We were a heavy team. Anytime you have Dustin Byfuglien on the ice against you, you're going to pay a toll. So I think they've had a much easier time this year, aside from the cheap bullshit that Jamie Benn wanted to do. I think they've had a much easier series, or not much easier set of series to go through.
Yeah.
So I do think Vegas is going to win. Would I be surprised if Florida won? No, I don't think they will. Would I be happy if either one of these teams win? No. I wish they could both lose.
Yeah.
They can hand it to the team last alphabetically. How about that?
I'm with you. I think Vegas is going to win. I think I've been wrong about every prediction I've made for the most part in these playoffs. But I do think Vegas is probably the better team. But Florida's on such a roll.
Yep.
Ever since they took out Boston, I think they've lost, one game?
1 game. 2 games now. 2 games, right?
No,
yeah, 2 games. They lost one to Toronto. They lost one to they lost that one. Nope, they swept. Yeah, that was a sweep. Yeah, they've won. Yeah.
Lost 1 game. So I think Vegas will win, but I would actually prefer Florida winning. I hate Vegas. Sure. Yeah, I just absolutely hate the Vegas Golden Knights for many different reasons related to their play against the Colorado Avalanche. Shout out to Caleb. Congrats on Vegas making it to the Stanley Cup Finals. We're going to do a watch along of the Stanley Cup Finals at some point. It didn't work out for the conference finals.
Too fast.
They went too fast.
Too damn fast.
But we'll figure out a day to watch the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
Depending on how fast those go. If those go into a sweep, but we might not have a chance to watch those either.
That's true. I can't see it. I can't see it being a sweep. I think it's going to be a hard series.
I can't see it being a sweep either. Yeah. But I couldn't see Florida and Carolina being a sweep, and that's what we got. So who knows?
That's true.
But that's it for the Stanley Cup playoffs. However, we have some news has happened in the league.
Yeah, a bit of news just to keep us caught up to what's going on
Yeah.
here, anyways. Where should we start? Let's start with the. I don't know if this is a surprise to you, but John Hines being let go in Nashville, and Andrew Brunette being instated as the new head coach of the Nashville Predators.
Yeah. Nashville wasn't horrible this year. I think they finished just outside of the playoffs.
We took them out in the last week.
Yeah,
we took them out in the last week.
They had the change of general manager. Barry Trotz is now the general manager.
Yes, yeah.
And I could see him wanting to bring in his own guy, kind of, and that might be why this move happened. Andrew Brunette, in my opinion, was very unlucky not to keep his job as the head coach of Florida last year after the regular season that they had. So I'm happy for him that he's got a head coaching job again because he wasn't a head coach this past season.
Yep.
Be interesting to see what he does there. But I don't know why this move was made necessarily.
Yeah. John Hines, I think Nashville had a perception of where they were and not a perception of where they actually are. So I'm not going to cry over, like, one of the teams I hate most in the world, Nashville Predators. So I'm not going to cry over anybody that gets fired there. Andrew Brunette, I think he's you're glad that he has like a fresh start now in Nashville. I think that they won the President Trophy when he was in Florida, but wasn't really his team. You know what I mean? Like Joe Quenneville fired that year after a month and a half or something like that. So it was Andrew Brunette through most of it, but it was still applying the same systems that made Joel Quenneville successful there and successful in Chicago. It's pretty much the same systems. I'm glad that he was where did he go? I think he was he was an assistant coach in New Jersey.
I think in New Jersey. It might have been Washington. I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If it was Jersey, he was going in behind Lindsey Ruff. So another great coach to listen to learn from. I hope he doesn't do well. I hope none of them do. I hope they finish. Like second last in the league every year, and then every year lose the lottery. That would be my hope. That'd be my hope for the Nashville Predators. Who names their team the Predators? Oh my God, the worst.
What kind of Predators are in Nashville, by the way?
You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Yeah. Jeez, you do not want to know. To catch a predator. That's it. More news on the coaching front. Washington has found their guy, and it's world famous Spencer Carberry.
Leafs assistant, right?
Yeah, another Leafs assistant, joining such super successful former Leafs assistants as DJ Smith. And the wonderful job he's done in Ottawa, leading them to nothing. Now, at least with Carberry, he has he was in the Washington system. I think he was the coach of their ECHL team. He was the coach of Hershey, like their AHL team. So he's been around there quite a bit. Only 41 years old. He has quite a lot of coaching experience, which is crazy. Yeah. And then, he goes and sullies it all by being an assistant coach in Toronto. But they have, like, when I heard him getting hired in Washington, I was saying, well, how's this guy? This guy's only a year or two older than Ovechkin. And that's who he has to coach, right? When it comes down to it, they're going to go as far as Ovechkin can drag them on his old, tired body. And, but he's like, he would have a relationship. He won't, maybe not a super tight relationship, but he would have a relationship as a coach in their system. He would know who Spencer Carberry is. And I'm sure he'll be bringing in assistants that have either worked with the Capitals or former head coaches, other places. It's always good to have another ear. So I wish him more luck in Washington than he ever had in Toronto, because like Toronto. I'm not a huge Washington fan, but I just don't like Toronto very much. I wonder if there's
Yeah.
any more Toronto news. Oh
I
wait,
think
there
there probably
is.
is.
I think there is. Okay, so they get rid of Kyle Dubas, and that whole story is being like in Canada, of course, because we have TSN, we have sports in here, and all it is about the Leafs all the time, anyway. So, oh my
Hmm.
God, the drama that's Kyle Dubas leaving, and
That
Shanna,
was
yeah,
definitely something.
Shanahan has to have a 20-minute press conference where he has to go point by point where every step of the way would happen with this, and then they were gonna have him, and he's, oh, I want to take some time. They're like, oh, I want to come back, and he says, oh, you want to come back? It's like, oh, but I want this much money. It's like, oh my God, okay, forget it. Well, maybe we should find someone else. So they get rid of Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas now being linked to Pittsburgh of all places. We'll talk about that maybe in a second. But they go and say, who'd be a good fit for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Someone who's never won anything either. Let's go get Brad Treliving. Unbelievable.
I
Unbelievable.
was pretty surprised by this.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was surprised by this because it's Toronto, but I was pretty surprised by this.
Uh, all right. Okay. You're going to be on the losing end of trades, and you're going to overpay for washed up guys. Wait a minute. He fits perfectly for Toronto. This is their
Yeah.
method. This is their method. Let's lose trades and sign super expensive free agents that aren't ever going to live up to the money. So, yeah, good for you. Good for you. You got exactly what you wanted. Maybe it comes down
Because
to, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say this is the guy that was responsible for the Matthew Tkachuk to Florida trade,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. And to be fair, he had his kind of foot in the fire there. Kachuk really wanted to play in America. All the Americans ever seem to want to go back to America. They never want to stay in Canada. It's for whatever reasons, fine. Who cares? Matthew Kachuk's gone. It looks like the haul they get is good with Huberdeau and Uyghur. Uyghur turns out to be okay. He's worth a lot of money. That they signed Huberdeau to that huge expensive contract, and of course didn't work out. But it may be because of the coach that they brought in last year and decided to keep a coach that was good for them in, what was it, 2004 when
Yeah.
the Flames made it, and it's just not the same league, guys. So they get rid of Sutter now and stuff like that after he steps down and blah blah blah. It's a mess. It's a mess in Calgary. I love seeing it. I'm a huge fan of things going awfully for the Calgary Flames. But yeah, now he's bringing his shit show to Toronto. So good. I only hope he can run that team down as well. But because Dubas and Austin Matthews are so close, people are thinking like, what's going to happen with Matthews? Is he definitely going to want out now? But he's still saying the right things, or he wants to stay in Toronto and stuff like that. He wants to, sign here long term. I don't see it. I see if he does sign any kind of extension in Toronto, it'd be max 3 years. If they can manage to get more out of him, that's great. But he's got to do something. Like, you want this guy that keeps losing trades and stuff like that. Okay. You got to do something with Marner or Nylander or Tavares. Tavares has a full no movement, so you can't do anything with him. So it's down to Marner or Nylander. You got to get something for him, and people are knowing your back's against the wall. You're gonna lose a trade for either one of these guys. If somebody ever wants to pay that much for a winger, how do you give them $11 million for a winger who isn't even your top scorer? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Makes me laugh.
The number of tweets I have seen from people wanting to trade Mitch Marner to the Avs in exchange for Cale Makar crack me
They're
up.
all from Toronto. They're all from Toronto.
They're delusional.
I'm surprised they didn't ask for McKinnon and your first round pick. Unbelievable. Right. They're delusional.
What other news is there?
Just not really news. I just wanted to touch on Kyle Dubas maybe going over to Pittsburgh real quick. I don't get it. I don't see it. If this was 10 years ago, I could see it. but he's playing with Sidney Crosby still plays really well. Malkin plays well. They have super expensive contracts. They can't really be traded at this point. Well, it'd be harder to. You'd have to wait the 2 or 3 years till they decide to retire. But Kyle Dubas, in all his years in Toronto, couldn't find a starting goaltender at all.
Mm-hmm.
What's Pittsburgh's biggest problem? Starting
Goaltending.
goddamn goaltending, and he can't find it. So yeah, what are you bringing him in here for? Unless are you bringing him as a president of hockey ops, like the same kind of position that Shanahan's in, and then he hires his own GM who does the numbers thing or whatever, tries to play Billy Ball in hockey, which I still don't believe works. Go ahead, but it's a recipe for disaster. Oh yeah, I don't like Pittsburgh either, so go ahead and hire him, guys. Go ahead and take him. It's not going to work out well, no matter what you think. All these guys, anybody who ever works in Toronto, gets blown up by the media as being so great, and everyone doesn't look at the actual results, and there are middling. What Kyle Dubas in all his time there, even before when he was just working in the organization, not as a GM, he's been around the Leafs for 9 years. There's been one playoff win, and that was this year. One.
Yeah.
Where's the success? Where's the success? Like, and you had the number 1 pick overall. You had the superstar pick or whatever. It's like, all of a sudden you're a fucking great GM. No, you got the number 1 pick handed to you. That's it. That's all you've done. And then signed him, and then signed Marner to an unbelievable contract. I will never understand the love for this guy. Never. You're not getting it in Pittsburgh. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like. Mm-hmm. I just don't get it.
No,
I just don't get it.
Yeah,
I did see one other piece of news that came out this afternoon, which is that the Kraken signed Ron Francis to a 3-year extension. Smart.
Yeah, and especially when you consider all the crap he got that first year, and like they saw the immediate success that Vegas had. And all the Seattle fans, well, where's our success? Where's our immediate success? Well, you got to see some success this year.
You sound like our friend Fares, who is very much along those lines.
Mm-hmm. You got to see the success. And look at the Carolina team. A Carolina team that maybe if a guy he got in Svechnikov was healthy, maybe we're talking about them, or we haven't even done this broadcast yet. We may have been waiting for a Game 7 there. So, I think good for him. He's a good GM.
I think that Seattle is very well positioned, especially with the division that they play in, to be a playoff team again next year.
Soft.
And I think that they proved that they took us to 7 games and beat us, and they took Dallas to 7 games and almost beat Dallas. They're very good.
They just decided not to show up in Game 7.
Yeah, the Game 7 against Dallas was not their best performance, but they got there, and that's more than a lot of second-year organizations could do. So credit to them, and a good move by them to sign Ron Francis to an extension.
They've won They've won as many playoff rounds as Toronto in the last 19 years.
19 years, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They didn't too. Good for them.
Anything else, Snark?
No. Hopefully we can. We'll pin down a game to watch. We are definitely not going without a live watch along of a Stanley Cup Finals game. Hopefully the times are gonna work out for us. So I believe, when does it start? Does it start the 3rd?
It starts Saturday, I believe.
Okay. Ooh, Saturday. All right. Yeah. So we'll definitely be able to catch a game or two here. Our Mondays just got cleared up a little bit, so if there's a game on Monday, we could probably do it on Monday. But we'll see. Okay. We'll figure something out, guys.
I've got the schedule right here. So we've got Saturday in Vegas, then Monday in Vegas. Yeah. Game 2. So maybe game 2.
Mm-hmm.
We will figure that out, and we will tweet about it on our Twitter account at LGR_network. And we've got the watch-alongs going on our Twitch channel, not on YouTube. So it's twitch.tv/LGR_network.
Mm-hmm.
Where there will also be watch-alongs of the NBA Finals. for anyone also interested in seeing me get really excited because hopefully my team wins a championship. Snark, where can the people find you?
Well, on this very network, if you haven't, you can always catch the season finale of Starting 11. That's our English Premier League show. Of course, just wrapped up. We've got our season finale this week. You can catch me over on the main network doing entertainment news breaks, some stories with Justin. We're doing a little different now. We're doing 15-minute little focus on stories and stuff like that. I've had a lot of fun doing that. Also on Twitch, and a show that happens every once in a while. I can't say it's every week, but it shows up once in a while. LGRN After Snark, Danny and I going live on Twitch just to talk about whatever we're going to talk about. How about you?
You can find me on the Rally with Fares. We've got Roland Garros going on right now, so we'll have some Roland Garros episodes coming up very, very soon. We will be back on this show to close out the Stanley Cup Finals again with a recap of the finals. And if you're thinking, well, then what's going to happen with our Adelia and Snark shows for the next few months while the hockey's over and the soccer's over? Just wait. There might be an announcement coming soon about a fun new thing we're doing. Mm-hmm. So until next time, everyone, we will see you then.